Welcome to the Salt Strong Podcast, disrupting fishing entertainment as you know it. Prepare to laugh. Prepare to get to know fishing legends in a whole new and unfiltered way. And on occasion, you might even learn a thing or two about fishing. Here's your host, Joe Simons. Like diamonds.
It's pruning time. Hey everybody, Joe Simons, like diamonds, back again with Salt Strong Unchurched. First and foremost, I apologize that there was no Unchurched last week. I know a few of you reached out saying, what happened? You still okay? What's going on? Is Unchurched done? No, it was just 1 week off. I was out in San Diego, California for the week, and I just didn't get time to do it with all the flying back and forth, and that flight back, not fun. And, you gave me extra hours, and it just feels like forever. Your whole day's gone. But man, San Diego, what a beautiful place. I hadn't been there in quite some time, and just a reminder of why I think people put up with all the craziness and the politics in California. It's kind of tough to beat the waking up in the middle of the summer and it's, 68 degrees, and I was doing my early morning walks and, just beautiful looking out at the Pacific Ocean. It's kind of tough to beat that part. All that being said, that was my reason that I didn't get to do the podcast. So this episode is all about pruning. And I do believe it is a time to prune. And the Bible even talks about pruning. And in our latest C12 meeting, C12 is that Christian leadership group that I'm a part of, where about 12 of us, different leaders in different companies and different chapters and, sizes of our businesses and our lives. And every month there's a message. And this message was about pruning. And what was interesting is everyone kind of felt both personally and professionally that they were in a season of pruning. And I'll explain what all that means in a little bit. It's a good thing overall. Obviously sometimes it can be painful when you're pruning, but in general, it's about producing more and better fruit, right? And maybe you're feeling that way too, that, you're having to shed some things, or maybe take away some things, or maybe get some negative people out of your life, or maybe it's, shifting things around with kids' school. I mean, school startup, I've met some friends who have, decided to do some big things with that, right? They're pruning out some schools they didn't like, or maybe even doing, the most drastic thing, right? Which is, teaching your kids at school, homeschooling. I heard a lot of that. So those are all different versions, of pruning. But let me kind of kick it off here with John 15, right out of the Bible here. I am the true vine. This is Jesus. I am the true vine. So Jesus the vine, and my Father is the gardener. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away. And every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes, that it may bear more fruit. Abide in me and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine, God, or Jesus, neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me and I in him, and I am him, he it is that bears much fruit. From apart from me, you can do nothing. So one, this is saying, yes, you need Jesus in your life, you need God in your life. Two, that there will be times that God, the gardener, is pruning you. And as I said, it can be painful. I mean, imagine yourself as a tree, some sort of fruit tree, doesn't matter. It could be orange tree, whatever, apple tree. And imagine, someone coming up with some clippers and cutting off some of the fruit that maybe just doesn't look as good as the other fruit. Of course, it would be painful, but how awesome would it be if you knew that was going to produce even better fruit, which is the whole point of pruning. And I've done that multiple times. We've got quite a few different fruit trees and even a couple different really beautiful vines. And I remember when we bought this house, I didn't know much about pruning. I didn't really pay too much attention to the gardening. And this house in particular, we got 3.5 acres, and there's a lot of beautiful things here, and quite a few different fruit trees. And so I had my buddy David come over, who I know is really into that, and he's showing me what to do. And he's like, "Yeah, man, you got to prune this like right now." I was like, "Well, it looks good. There's fruit. You don't see all one was a papaya tree. I got quite a few of them papaya trees. and some avocado trees and lychees. I got all these different fruit trees. He said, no, you got to prune these things. And I was showing me how to do it. And what I thought was interesting too, and I remember interesting is he's like, even when you're pruning, you have to be careful because if you, especially for like smaller plants, you don't just clip off the clippings and some of the fruit and let it just drop on the ground. He's like, that also can absorb a lot of the nutrients and stuff in the ground around some of these roots, especially once you get in smaller trees. Bigger trees, not gonna, like fully mature trees, it's not gonna matter. But some of these little smaller ones, he's like, don't just clip it off and leave it. That's gonna sap up some of the energy. You want to get all that stuff away, clean up all the weeds. You want to have the roots of this, little tree or smaller tree getting every single bit, every little ounce of potential energy and nutrients from that soil. And I had no idea about that stuff either, right? It was all my life lessons on pruning here on the property. But yeah, I think the thing that's interesting from this teaching that we went through, a lot of us think pruning is, oh yeah, we're, chopping off the bad branches and stuff. But it was very clear that this was more about pruning off areas that had more fruit. And I think this is the thing that a lot of us get wrong when we feel like we're in a rut or God's taking away something from us, right? And many times it's something good, right? We don't ever get mad about God taking something bad away from us. It's usually when, oh man, this was working or this used to work, and now I feel like this is being taken away from me. And I think that was my biggest aha with all this is, all right, man, this is maybe something I really liked or something was going well in my life, at least I thought it was, and God's taken that away from me. That's just not working anymore. Meaning it was bearing fruit. And this whole part is not about just taking away the bad and the really negative stuff. That's not really pruning. Pruning is taking away real legit fruit that might look good to you, be it God knows there's something, God is the gardener, knows there's something better behind it. And hey, if I can take away this thing that maybe Joe or whoever you are, it might look great to you, it might feel good, and it might be the thing that you're even most excited about now, but I'm going to take this away knowing that new stuff will come later. I mean, I look at Salt Strong. We were a content and apparel company. That was our business. We had grandiose plans to build that out. We were going to take on all these apparel companies. And I remember recently looking at an old video from 2016, way back in the day. And it was us launching our Made in USA apparel. And because at the time, nothing in the fishing world was made in USA. I still don't think it is for the most part, but that's how we were going to be different. We're going to take on the world. And all of a sudden, once again, this was the only fruit we had, if you want to look at it that way, meaning that's the only thing that made our company money was us selling apparel. And in an instant, God took the whole thing away. It was a licensing deal that Luke and I had signed with this group that, what a life lessons. I mean, gave us all these massive promises and flew us up to Michigan and showed us everything and really, really sold us hard on how big they were going to blow this up for us. And so we signed an exclusive licensing deal, which meant that we could no longer sell apparel. It was all going to be done through them. And they botched the entire thing to the point we couldn't even pay our bills. And I just remember, I remember so many days stressed out. I remember doing my little walks in the morning and praying to God. I was like, God, why? This was our fruit. What is happening here? And because of that, we decided to say, hey, we need to start selling courses on fishing and create a club. And had we not been put in that situation, we never would have the business that we do today and helping the amount of people we do today in this amazing community and all the friendships we've made. We would have just been an apparel company. Not that anything is wrong with that, but that's just not who we are. It's never who we really wanted to be. We always had this vision of teaching and uniting people through fishing. And now we're able to do that. We're actually able to pursue this lofty vision and mission, all because God literally ripped that fruit off and said, you know what, Joe and Luke, I got something better behind it. And how many times has that happened in your life, right? Where maybe you had to take a completely different change in your business or in your life or with boyfriend, girlfriend, right? I mean, think about all the people you maybe thought you were going to marry, and you look back and like, man, thank goodness I wasn't with that person. Maybe it's the opposite. Maybe you made a mistake and need to prune off someone you're with today. I'm not encouraging that by any means, but you know where I'm going with that. And I do think that is also a part of pruning. This um, this Bible verse here is obviously about God and Jesus, and says God is the only gardener. But there are things that we can do in our own lives, just proactively to prune, right? And that could be getting rid of some bad habits, right? That can be getting rid of some bad people in your life. And I've done that a couple different times where there's just people that weren't adding any value, and they were, if anything, taking away a lot of value. Call them vampires, where they just kind of suck the life out of you. They're negative. I just don't have time for it. My wife and I talk about it sometimes, and there's been a couple over the years where, like, you know what, we're just not going to do anything with that person anymore. And I've told stories about that even in college, and it was really, really tough, especially because one of them was a roommate once, and I had to, just get my way out of that entire relationship, and kind of find a new friend, if you will. So I would question you on that. What or who do you need to get out of your life to kind of prune, to make room for someone or something new? And I think you can probably all relate with me here on this. And I'm talking about pruning. Like, imagine pruning your closet. How many times have you done that, or how many times have you experienced this, right? Where you finally go through your closet, you give away all this stuff that you haven't worn in years, right? I don't need 15 pairs of jeans. I only wear the same 2 over and over again. You give them all away. And then lo and behold, what happens? Within a year, usually, sometimes it's within months for maybe someone, if you're like my wife, but usually within the next year, that closet is filled up back to where it was, and sometimes even fuller. Do it with our kids, right? Every year, usually it's every summer. So we just did this recently because the kids are away at camp, and it's a good time to do it where they're not screaming and crying and fighting. But we'll go through all their old toys and the things that have been sitting in the back of their closets they haven't played with in years. We go give it away to someone who can use it. We also do some of that around Christmas time. We even had stuff that hadn't even been opened yet, right? Shame on us. That was sitting back there that they had like double of, right? That they got it for a birthday or Christmas gift, and they already had it, and we didn't return it. And we'll go give that stuff away and let someone else enjoy it. And the kids get a little bit down, and guess what happens? Once again, within the year, sometimes even shorter durations, all of that stuff that was gone and taken up space is somehow managed to grow itself back. It's the whole pruning thing, right? It's just growing different fruit, and usually better fruit, and stuff that they might care about now, even more than the other one. So I think that's similar in all of our lives. And, same if you have a company like me and we had to prune off a couple employees that, not that they're bad people, just weren't really a fit, right? It's not like everything that you prune is horrible. No, it's God's making way for something better. Sometimes they've outgrown it. Sometimes they need to be in a different position somewhere else. So they've outgrown the company as well. It's not a bad thing. Someone's a bad person per se. So that's my big challenge to you is, look at your life. You're going to have things that God prunes, right? And that really is the message there in John 15 is God will be pruning stuff in your life, and we have to accept that and even try to find ways to be excited about it. But there's also things that we can prune naturally in our own lives, especially if we know they're negative. And the easiest ones are people and habits, honestly. And then stuff, obviously, is another one. But I think habits are the ones that are probably nearest and dearest to all of our hearts. We all have them, and some of them are small. Some of them seem mundane. Some of them might bug the heck out of our spouse. Some of them might deep down say, I know this is not right. I shouldn't be doing this. Some of them lead to really, really bad things, like I talked about in the latest podcast, where a guy that I'm friends with, not a best friend by any means, but I'm definitely an acquaintance with him. There was a bad habit in his life that just kind of kept snowballing to the point now he's going to be in jail, which is really, really sad for, his wife and kids. So, what are some of those things that you can remove in your life? And it can even be commitments. That's been a big one for me. And I said yes to way too many things. And for instance, like I'm on the board of directors of a couple different nonprofits, and that all sounds good, but I have so much going on. And if it gets in the way of me not being home enough or neglecting my wife and kids, not that I would say I am, but sometimes you just feel that, right? Where I just feel like, oh gosh, I haven't even had a date with my wife in a while. And it's all because I've said yes to so many different things. And so I just started saying no. I got invited to be on the board of a really prestigious special thing that normally I would have been really excited, and I was excited about it, and I was all about it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to tell them no. And they called me and they're like, we already kind of like approved you on the board, even though I wasn't a part of the approval process. I wasn't even there. Like we just assume everyone says yes because this is a big deal. And I was like, guys, I'm sorry to let you down. Let's talk about it maybe in a year. This is not my season for it. I got to start saying no to stuff. And so I've been purposely and proactively saying no to things. And yeah, sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it hurts feelings. It lets people down. But you know what? I could care less if it gets in the way of my family, right? And either people understand that or they don't. And that doesn't mean that you need to be a jerk about it, because I obviously wasn't, and I handled it with kid gloves. But at the same point, if I'm feeling that tension with family or business or anything, and because I've said yes to way too many other things, then at some point that's something I gotta remove out of my life. One of the stories in the C12 from one of the founders who's done a really good job at it is they prune one new thing every Thursday. So on their calendar, they either remove something that, hey, I don't want to be part of this meeting anymore. It could be a commitment that they've done, but they try to take one thing off of their plate every Thursday. And I was like, wow, that is awesome. I love that one. So maybe even try something like that. To me, that's excessive. I don't know that I could find 4 things a month. I probably could, but that seems a little bit tougher. But doggone, talk about some monster pruning there. So try it, maybe once a month. All right. Hey, the first Thursday of every month, I'm going to prune one thing or one person, one relationship, one commitment, something that might be getting in the way of my spiritual growth, personal growth, my health, whatever it is. What's something that you can prune in your life every month? So even once again, you did it 12 times in a year. How massive of an impact could that be in your life? And what new things, just like the closet getting emptied and then all of a sudden mysteriously and magically getting full again, what new fruit could be coming out? What new things could be coming out in your life? I think that's what we should get excited about, right? Instead of getting upset or obsessing about the things that we're losing, the fruit that we might be losing, like the apparel at Salt Strong back in the day. We got to get excited about, man, what is God doing in my life? What new fruit am I going to bear? What is happening next in my life? So I hope this was helpful. I hope it put in perspective. This was a really powerful one for me, just because I felt like I was in that season as well, of just having to say no to stuff and just kind of getting back down to the basics. And like I said, it can be painful sometimes to get rid of things, and even letting go of some people in our company that we went through. Time to prune can be painful, but in the big picture, it is not just necessary; it is mandatory for you to grow. Right? That's the only way that fruit trees can grow, and it really is kind of mandatory for us to grow as humans and to be closer to God. So hope this was helpful. I'd love to hear any feedback that you have on ways or things that you've done to prune in your life, whether it be relationships, commitments, whatever it might be. I'd love to hear it. My email is joe@saltstrong.com. And if there's anything I can do to pray over you or help answer questions. I'll obviously always do my best. I don't have all the answers, but I can certainly pray over it and help point it in the right direction any way I can. Hit me up. I'd love to hear from you. Otherwise, I will talk to you on the next episode.
'Cause fishing, it's in my soul. It was past